Namaste, Vasu and Vaniji. My pranams to members of all the members of Meditation and Study Circle. I welcome all of you for today's session of Panchadashi. Panchadashi means 15 chapters about the teaching of Vedanta, Tattva-jnana. The benefit of Tattva-jnana is described in what we call as Jivan Mukti Viveka. Tattva-jnana is the wisdom, Viveka and Vairagya, which will lead to Jivan Mukti. So every week we are having a Jivan Mukti class. Every month we are having Panchadashi class. Today, the topic is absolute reality. When we say absolute reality, the Sanskrit name for that is called Paramarthika Satya. The English name for that, as against the absolute reality, there's a relative reality. Relative reality is called Vyavaharika Satya. So Paramarthika Satya and Vyavaharika Satya, we have to understand the difference. The Paramarthika Satya is absolute reality and Vyavaharika Satya is relative reality, depends on the absolute reality. The Vyavaharik Satya or relative reality changes, but Paramarthika Satya does not change. Swami Vidyaranya speaks about Paramarthika Satya in the verses 3 to 10 of Panchadashi. So what is the example of Paramarthika Satya? Example. The water is similar to absolute reality. Waves, foam, bubble is relative reality. The relative reality appears and disappears, but the wave, foam, bubble appear and disappear, but nothing happens to water. Water is always like that. Water doesn't undergo, water itself does not change. Water may appear as a wave, bubble, and foam. Similarly, the absolute reality, Brahman or Parabrahman, does not undergo any change. Brahman only appears as the body, mind, and the world, which is relative reality. Everything in the relative reality keeps on changing, but nothing happens to absolute reality, Brahman. So subject of Brahman, absolute reality, Parabrahma, is approached by Sri Vidyaranya by looking at our three states of consciousness: waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. It's called Avastha Traya Viveka: waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. What happens in the waking state? In the waking state, we see variety of objects: the star, the sun, the moon, the trees, the river, the animals, living beings, variety of objects we see. When we see these objects, who is the seer? We use the eyes or sense organs to see the world. But sense organs are not the seers. There's a variety in the world, but there's no variety in the sense organs. Everything in the world is changing, but sense organs are able to see the changes. Who is the seer? The mind is able to feel the presence of the sense organs. Mind knows there's a pain in the sense of pain in the eyes. My eyes are red or my eyes are not able to see. The mind is the seer. The sense organs are the seen. The world is seen through sense organs by the mind. So the mind is the higher level seer compared to sense organs. Is the mind seer? The mind is also seen by the knowing principle or consciousness knower. I know there are thoughts in my mind. I know there are no thoughts in my mind. I know there are objects in the world. The knower does not undergo changes. The knower, all the objects of the world change. Sense organs don't change. The changes in the sense organ in terms of a disease or pain is sensed by the mind. The mind is a higher level faculty, and the sakshi, the witness, the knowing principle is higher. So who is the seer to our sense organs? Is the knowing principle or the sakshi. So this is in the waking state. What happens in the dream? The dream is also similar to waking state. It's no different. In the dream world, we see objects, people, changing circumstances. Again, the seer does not change. Because seer does not change, then only we know that the objects are changing. The seer or sakshi in the dream also does not change. The seer or sakshi, what he did in the waking state, whatever waking world is there, he dropped that world and went into a dream world and started experiencing dream objects. But nothing has happened to Sakshi, because now in the dream world, he will comfortably observe, witness what's happening. What happens in the deep sleep? Deep sleep, I know nothing, because there's no mind, there's no body, there's no world, there are no objects to know. So when we wake up, we say, I had very good sleep. I had a blissful sleep. Nothing was there. So the Sakshi was eliminating presence, absence of everything. So in the waking state and dream state, Sakshi was eliminating presence of objects. In the waking state, physical objects. In the dream state, mental objects. In deep sleep, no objects. Objects change, but Sakshi does not change. So with this understanding, Swami Vidyaranya is telling us that by looking at your waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, you understand the real seer, who is unchanging, who is the knower, knowing principle, illuminating the waking state, dream state, deep sleep objects, which themselves are changing, is changeless. And what is the nature of this Sakshi? It is the consciousness, knowing principle. The objects are inert, objects change, but the knowing principle, Sakshi, is conscious ability to know, does not change. I am the knowing principle, consciousness, Chit, Sakshi. Chit means consciousness. Because I am able to see the changes, I am not the changes. I am separate and different from the objects which I am seeing. Objects are changing, objects are different, but the Sakshi or the consciousness is homogeneous. There is no variation in Sakshi. Waking state Sakshi, dream state Sakshi, deep sleep state Sakshi, there's no change. It's a simple knowing, illuminating principle. So that unchanging Sakshi is my nature. So this is the understanding which you can have by looking at the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. The objects of the world undergo change, but the Sakshi or the knowing principle does not undergo change. So now, objects of the world belong to the category of relative reality. They change. The objects of the world, the changes in the objects of the world cannot be known without a knowing principle. Knowing principle is a higher level reality. It belongs to the category of higher level reality. Objects of the world belong to no lower level category. There is a saying in Zen. If a tree falls in the forest and if there's nobody there to observe it, did the tree fall or not? Did it make sound or not? The tree, if it falls, if no conscious being is there to observe it, then the tree, whether it fell or not, we cannot say. The tree falling requires a conscious being. It may be some animal, it may be somebody to recognize the fact. That consciousness the tree fell or not cannot be recognized without the presence of a consciousness. Whose consciousness? Not necessarily mine. Some animal, somebody's consciousness should be required. So the tree never fell, never made a sound in the absence of a conscious observer. The consciousness is the higher level reality. The tree is the lower level reality. If the consciousness is not there, there's no possibility of dream. The consciousness is a higher level reality, dream is a lower level reality. Higher level reality is called Paramarthika Satya, lower level is called Vyavaharika Satya. So in the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, we experience the Vyavaharika Satya. But the knowing principle, Vyavahar, Sakshi, is always witnessing. Sakshi cannot be seen. Sakshi only can see. The witness cannot see itself. Witness can only see the objects. So typically the witness is told like a woman who has covered all her face and the body with a black cloth, only her eyes, through her eyes, she can see something. Nobody can see her face, but she can see the entire world through her eyes. Sakshi is like that. Sakshi cannot see itself. Nobody can see Sakshi, the witness, consciousness, but consciousness can see anything. So I am that consciousness, Chit. So this is the first understanding Swami Vidyaranya derives by looking at the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. There's another understanding here. In the waking state, dream state, there are presence of objects. In deep sleep state, there's no object at all. Absence of everything. So the Sakshi, in the presence of objects, eliminates the presence of objects. And the absence of objects, it eliminates absence. Abhava. Absence means abhava. Presence means bhava. Bhava and abhava both are eliminated. So that's why Sakshi is not affected. Presence of objects or absence of objects does not affect Sakshi. Here we may have a question. In deep sleep, was there consciousness or not? After I wake up from deep sleep, I say there was nothing in the deep sleep. So nothing, absence of everything is eliminated in deep sleep. That means the one who eliminates is there, Sakshi. Then there's a bliss in the deep sleep. So bliss is my nature because there's no objects there. In the waking state, I keep on searching for happiness, objects. But in deep, and to get happiness. In deep sleep, I don't have any objects, but I'm happy or blissful. So that's why in the absence of objects also, I can be blissful. So deep sleep state tells me my own nature as consciousness, the witness, which is blissful in the absence of objects. So this witness is there. I'll answer the question at the end. So these absence of these objects, still I can be blissful. Why it's so? See, in the waking state, I'll be happy if I get something. I need objects to get my happiness. My happiness is dependent on the objects in the waking state. But my bliss in the deep sleep state is not dependent on the objects. Because no objects are there. And everybody loves deep sleep. So that tells me I can be happy and blissful without objects. So since there are no objects, I am only there. My nature is bliss. This is the conclusion which we arrive from the deep sleep. So then another thing which we want, everybody wants to prolong their life. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to, somehow they want to live. They cling to life. Why we cling to life? Because deep inside, the unchanging reality, which is my nature, the paramarthik satya, which is my nature, is eternal. But my body and mind are temporary, vyavaharika satya. So I know very well the body and mind disappears one day. But still I want to continue to live, which points to my nature, which is eternity. I am comfortable with the eternity. But I am not comfortable with the death of the body or dropping the body. My eternal nature, the desire to live forever, is pointing to the eternal nature, which is bliss, ananda, and ananda. The eternal nature of the self is called sat, and consciousness is called chit. So from the first analysis, waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, I conclude I am consciousness, chit. The consciousness does not undergo any changes in the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. That's why consciousness is unchanging reality. And I have a constant desire to live forever, eternity. So I am of the nature of Sat, which means unchanging reality, which is eternal forever. So these are the two conclusions Swami Vidyaranya derives from the unless of waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, and our desire to live forever. The desire for living forever is common to all living beings. Because all of us identify with the body-mind complex. Body-mind complex changes and body-mind complex get dropped, becomes old and dropped. I'm not comfortable with this understanding, comfortable with this. Why? Because somewhere I feel I am eternal. I am not comfortable with the temporary life, temporary existence. That's why my nature is Sat. My nature is Chit because I am present in the waking state, dream state, deep sleep. The Chit also drives us to one more reality of life. All of us seek knowledge. Some knowledge or other knowledge. I want to have knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge. I want to study this. I want to study that. I want to study something else. So there is a desire for a craving for knowledge. The craving for knowledge comes from the consciousness. The consciousness is of the nature of knowing. Knowing is infinite intelligence. All knowledge is finite. I know science, I know technology, I know physics, I'm a doctorate. Everything is finite. No matter how much you know, our craving for knowledge does not end because deep inside, I feel I am of the nature of infinite intelligence. I am of the nature of infinite intelligence, which is infinite a knowledge which does not have a boundary, a boundaryless knowledge. When is the boundaryless knowledge possible? When the knowledge is, when is infinite knowledge is possible? No matter what you know, the limited knowledge becomes irrelevant. When there's nothing else to know, there's nothing to know, then only knowledge is infinite. Then only intelligence is infinite. Deep inside, I have a craving for infinite intelligence, which is nothing but knowing principle, which is nothing but which is craving for my own self consciousness, which is knowing principle. I'm not satisfied with the knowledge, limited knowledge which I get. But without knowing this, people keep on studying. Even a person who is becoming old keeps studying Sanskrit grammar. Sri Shankaracharya says, Samprapte sannihiti kale nahi nahi rakshati dukrum karane. When the death approaches, the grammar does not save you. Even a person on the deathbed, he wants to know something. Because deep inside, he knows I am of the nature of infinite intelligence. There's nothing for me to know. But trying to grab something finite will not satisfy that urge. A large number of finite things cannot make infinite. Accumulation of the finite does not make infinite. So the desire for acquiring knowledge points to my nature of infinite intelligence, consciousness, which is homogeneous, which does not undergo changes. The blissful state of sleep points to my blissful nature, Ananda. Then my desire to live forever. I'm not satisfied with the finite life which body-mind complex offers. The desire for infinite life, eternal life, points to my nature as Sat, existence. So, Sat, Chit, and Ananda is understood. Then what am I looking for in life? What is that I am looking for? Enlightenment I'm seeking. I am seeking the bliss which is there in deep sleep, in my waking state. In the waking state, the physical objects appear, the mental thoughts appear, and I start craving for happiness in the form of objects. The happiness, no matter how much happiness I get, it's still limited. That limited happiness does not satisfy me. So that's why constantly I crave for happiness. And all happiness is temporary. Happiness through body, mind, relationships, possession, and profession. This is called Pancha Anatma. 5 Anatmas. Does not satisfy me. But I still seek them because I am seeking happiness. Why I am seeking happiness? Because happiness seems to be my nature. I am seeking my rightful nature. I am seeking my natural state, which is happiness. That is my nature. Here, the word happiness in Sanskrit is called santosha, but the nature of the self is called ananda, ananta. Ananda comes from the word ananta, infinite. Only in the infinite I am happy. I am not happy with finite. No matter what I get in life, lot of money, lot of power, lot of position, I'll still not be happy. Enough. Because I seek infinity. That's called ananta. That infinity I seek because it's my nature. I would not have sought something which is not my nature. So in that way, ananda or ananta, we are constantly craving to the objects of the world. And what we don't know is the happiness we get when objects of the world we get. Maybe a cup of coffee, maybe a sweet, maybe a job. That is nothing but a drop of happiness of the self, ananta, ananda of the self. The infinite bliss of the self is reflected in all the objects of the world when we experience it. What really happens when you experience something? I crave for sweets. The craving for sweets increases the thought. Mind becomes restless. When the sweet is put into the mouth, the subject, and the sweet become one. Subject object momentarily becomes one. When the mind subject object momentarily becomes one, the mind is silent. The silent mind is one with the self. It has merged with the self. So the happiness what we experience by eating sweet is nothing but a reflection or a drop of the bliss of the self. The bliss of the self is called ananda. So in that way, we are seeking constantly the ananda, bliss, happiness in the world. So now, all of us love something or other in the world. Somebody loves money, somebody loves power, somebody loves position, somebody loves different objects in the world. Why does somebody loves the objects? Why do we love objects of the world? The only reason we love the objects of the world is because the objects give me happiness. Objects seem to be giving me happiness. Objects seem to be giving happiness, but they're not really, there's no happiness in the objects itself. So object is triggering happiness in the mind. How does the object trigger happiness? When the object becomes one with the subject, the mind becomes silent. The self, bliss of the self is reflected in the mind. So that way, mind becomes one with the subject, one with the self. That's where we experience momentary happiness. So why do we love something? We love something or somebody because I want to feel happy. Happiness is my nature. The love is for the sake of seeking the bliss of the self. So then really, whom do you love? We don't love objects. We don't love relationships. We love ourselves, our real self. Atma only. When the husband says, I love you to the wife, or when the wife says, I love you to the husband, both are in reality loving their own self, Atma. Because Atma or the self is of nature of happiness. Every transaction in the Vyavaharika world with the Anatma, the body, mind, position, profession, relative relations, is to only seeking of the self in the form of Ananda. So that way, the true nature of the self, Satchidananda, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means eternity, Chit means consciousness, Ananda means bliss. Every endeavor we do in the world is seeking Satchidananda in some form. I am seeking myself in the world, in the myself, my true self, which is Satchidananda in the objects of the world, which is impossible to get. How do we do that? I want to live longer. I want to live longer. I want health, eternity. For that, I want to make body as eternal, seeking eternity for the body in the world, which is not possible. Eternity is my nature, Sat. I want knowledge, more and more knowledge. No amount of knowledge can satisfy me. So I am, she said, seeking infinite intelligence, infinite knowledge, which is actually knowing which nothing else to be known. Nothing is there to know. That is called Anand, Chit. Then finally, I love so many things in the objects in the world. In reality, I love myself. My own nature is Ananda. So I am loving Sat Chit Ananda, which is my own self. So in that way, shloka number 3 to 10, Swami Vidyaranya is pointing out to the reality, Sat Chit Ananda, which is my own nature. So now here I want to distinguish. The object of the world also appear as existence. The tree exists, the sun exists, the moon exists. The existence of the tree, sun, and moon is relative in nature. Only with my consciousness, when I am conscious, I can see the presence of those. They are relative existence. I give existence to the tree. I means my consciousness gives existence to the tree. My consciousness gives existence to the forest. The consciousness is the primary reality. That primary reality, consciousness, Chit, is my nature. Now, when I say tree exists, or sun exists, or moon exists, in reality, the existence is appearing as tree. Existence is appearing as sun. Existence is appearing as moon. What is the noun here? And what is the adjective here? Tree exists. Means tree becomes noun. Existence becomes adjective. Existence is given as an adjective to the tree. In reality, existence which is eternal, existence which is consciousness appears as tree. So best way to say is existence is appearing as tree rather than tree is existing. Appearance, the existence is appearing as sun rather than sun is appearing as sun exists. So our language causes a confusion. Existence is the noun, appearance is the adjective. And why the appearance is there? Because of our sense organs, limitation of sense organs, appearance is there. Eyes gives the form, ears give the sound, tongue gives the taste, the body gives the touch, and nose gives the smell. So the existence, one real existence, Sat appears as a tree, appears as a moon. Now, is there something called Sat and Chit? Existence outside and consciousness inside. Existence outside and consciousness inside is only one reality. Sat and Chit are one. I can never say I exist, but I'm not conscious. I cannot say I'm conscious, but I don't exist. The existence and consciousness, one reality. They're not two realities. So this we know all the time. We don't need to, nobody has to teach us. Intuitively, we know all the time. That's why we say, I am, I am, I am, I am coming, I am going. The I am is pointing to the consciousness and existence. I is pointing to consciousness, am is pointing to existence. And I am is pointing to a consciousness existence, which is eternal, Sachidananda Swarupa. So this is the understanding Sri Vidyanand is trying to give us in sloka number 3 to 10. So the consciousness and existence is the only reality, inner and outer. There's no separation. The consciousness inside appears as an object outside. Remove the appearance, then only existence is there. And I am existence. Existence and consciousness cannot separate out. Inner and outer reality is only one. Satchidananda. That's the Paramarthika Satya. The Vyavaharika Satya comes from the name and form given by sense organs. So Brahman alone is there. The Paramarthika Satya alone is there all the time. That Paramarthika Satya appears as a Vyavaharika Satya because of the sense organs and the mind. This is the teaching of Swami Vidyaranya. Always, constantly, we are seeking Sat, Chit, Ananda in the objects of the world. We think that only spiritual seekers are trying to seek the truth. Everybody is trying to seek the Satchidananda only. But they don't know the Satchidananda is our own nature. But they try to find Satchidananda in the objects of the world, which is impossible. In a spiritual person and not spiritual person, a sinner or a saint, a criminal or a wise man, all of us seeking Satchidananda only in different ways. An ignorant person seeks Satchidananda in the objects of the world. And he gets frustrated because these objects of the world keep on changing. He has to recognize Sat Chit Ananda is my own nature. Paramarthik Satya is my inner essence. That is the reality. Let us sit silently for a few minutes. Questions, sir? I'll answer it. So there are some questions on Zoom and there are some questions on YouTube. I'll answer the questions first. First, let me answer the question on Zoom. The question on Zoom is, Sakshi belongs to Paramarthik Satya and objects are in the Vyavaharika Satya. How can Sakshi watch a different level of reality? Only a different level of reality can watching is possible. Suppose you go to a movie theater. In movie theater, you watch a movie. Movie is not real. And the watcher, you, the witness of the movie, is enjoying the movie. So now, is movie not a lower level reality? The one who is witnessing the movie is a higher level reality. Higher level reality only can we witness the lower level reality. So now a character in the movie, character A watches character B. Is it possible? It's impossible because they both belong to same level of reality. From a higher level reality, you can always watch a lower level reality. Is the answer clear for the question on Zoom? So there is a question on YouTube. Ramchandra is asking, Can we attribute the waking body and dream body is different? If a person wants to live for longer life, he knows knowingly or unknowingly he is eternal. So Ramchandra is saying, that waking body is different from the dream body. So since waking body is different from dream body, but he does not recognize, without proper discrimination, he doesn't know. He thinks that I'm the waker is in the dream also. So waking body and dreaming body are different, but I am there in both all the bodies, and even deep sleep I'm there. That's why I'm eternal. This is the understanding which you have to derive. But most of the people can't do that because they don't understand this difference. So Ramachandra is asking the question, when a boy says to the girl, I love you, and girl says to the boy, I love you, Prabhuji said, the I love you refers to the I, which is Atma. Ramachandra says, boy does not know Atma, the girl does not know Atma. Then how can they love Atma? The boy has ignorance, the girl has ignorance. The word love is not about other person. The boy loves a girl, means girl can give me happiness. Happiness is his own nature. That's why he loves himself. But for that, the girl seems to be a reason. Of course, he does not know Atma, but he knows I love happiness. And I love happiness because it's my nature. So he does not know Atma, but he loves happiness, and love for happiness is for Atma. He does not know. That's why he confuses with the body of the girl. The confusion is coming because we don't know. But reality is, if you know, you are loving yourself. So the next question, Ramachandra, if you have understood the answer, you can say yes. Sat in us gives a desire for infinite, eternal life. My life, I want to be eternal. That's why we are craving for Sat. Ramchandra is asking, how can Chit consciously relate to infinite knowledge? So, Ramachandra, I want to know this, I want to know that, I want to know that, I want to know that. That want to know will never end because all knowledge is finite. No amount of finite knowledge can satisfy us. Even if I know everything, I have something more to know. So then what are I seeking really? When does my craving for knowledge goes? When I have nothing to know. When is nothing to know possible? When only infinite knowledge is there, infinite knowledge is there, where there's nothing to know. Even if you know a lot, still there'll be always something to know. When there's nothing to know, then it's called infinite knowledge. It's called infinite intelligence. When is it possible? When there is nothing to know, because there is no other. There's non-duality, Advaita. The non-dual nature, only infinite wisdom is possible, infinite knowledge is possible, infinite intelligence is possible. Constantly we are seeking infinite knowledge by craving for finite things. So next question, existence appears as object and the term object consciousness. Do the terms both mean same thing? So we use a word called existence appears as objects. And we also say object consciousness. For example, this is pot consciousness, a tree consciousness, right? So when we refer to tree consciousness or pot consciousness, we are referring to consciousness aspect of reality, which is knowing aspect of reality. When we say existence appears as a tree, we are giving importance to the appearance of existence aspect. So existence aspect, we give importance when you speak of a tree or plant. But when you speak of the tree consciousness or pot consciousness, we are referring to consciousness aspect. Both are same, but we are addressing different aspects. For example, when you say fire burns, yes, and fire gives light, there are two different aspects of the same reality called fire. So when I say pot consciousness, I'm stressing on consciousness aspect, knowing principle. When I say tree exists, I'm giving importance to existence aspect. In reality, both are same. Is it clear, Ramchandra? Anybody else has a question on Zoom? Anybody has a question on yeah, there is a question by can you repeat the question, please? Somebody put a question on the chat. I'm not able to read it in Google Meet. So the question being asked by Komari, who is the thinker behind the thought? The thinker behind the thought is also a thought. So I am the thinker is nothing but a thought. The thinker behind the thought is a thinker only, a thought only. So then who is the thinker behind the thought? It's the ego. I thought. But who eliminates the I thought? The consciousness or Sakshi or the Atma eliminates the I thought. So that's why Ramana Maharshi asked the question, find out who you are. Because the thinker and the thought appear and disappear. But the one who sees it, Sakshi, the witness, does not appear and disappear. Find out who you are is the teaching of Ramana Maharshi. So is that question answer clear? Is the answer clear, Komari? Okay. So then there is a question. The question here is, should one strive for... Yes, Komari? Gaurav is asking a question. Should one strive or not strive for excellence in life, achievement or competition in the world, when we know that we are not going to stay here eternally? So what is the point of striving for excellence or achievement? So Gaurav, the question is, what is the point of achieving something? Why do you want to achieve something? Why do you want to be excellent? So if the answer is, I want happiness from achievement, I want happiness from excellence, there's no point, because it's all temporary. It'll appear and disappear. So that is the point of teaching of Vedanta. The excellence or achievement is not for getting happiness. It is for sharing happiness. The more you share happiness, more joyful you feel. The more joyful you feel, more closer you are to the self. because yourself is infinite happiness, Ananda. So if I want happiness from the world, I want excellence for that, I want achievement for that, flip it. I am happy, I am sharing my happiness increases multiple fold. That multiple happiness, increase of happiness is called Ananda, which is my true nature. So I am expressing my true nature by actions which will bring happiness. So those actions which bring happiness are called service, seva. By doing seva, service, you're trying to share happiness. You're not seeking happiness. By doing service, you're seeking excellence in giving happiness, not seeking happiness. So that way you're expressing your nature. That's why Atmano mokshatam jagaditaya. That is the purpose of life. Even though when we know we are not eternal, while we are living, let us experience our nature of happiness fully by knowing how to give service, seva. Is the answer clear, Gaurav? So there is one more question. There's one more question. Narsimhamurthy is asking: experience of absence, deep sleep, is it registered in Antakarana? So Narsimhamurthy is asking experience of what? Absence. Nothing is there in deep sleep. Where is it recorded? So in our memory records two events. When I go to sleep, one event is recorded. I'm going to sleep. When I wake up, one event is recorded. I woke up. Between these two events, there's nothing recorded in memory. So when we look at memory, between two events called sleeping and waking up, nothing is there. That is recognized as absence, abhava. Is it clear? Ramchar has one more question. Okay, sir. So Sat Ramachandra is asking another question. Chit is about infinite knowing, just like Sat is eternal existence. Yes, Ramachandra. Chit is infinite knowing, infinite intelligence, just like Sat is infinite eternal existence. So now anybody on Zoom can ask a question. Meet. Google Meet, you can ask a question. Okay. Uh, so who is asking this question? So Venkatesh Prasanna, consciousness, your question is consciousness is also a thought as per Vivek Chudamani and other things. How do I observe the other thoughts? Correct? So Prasanna, the one who is asking the question, right? What question did you ask earlier? Is consciousness a thought? Consciousness is not a thought. Okay? We are confusing between thought and knowing principle. The knowing principle knows there is a thought. Knowing principle knows that there is no thought. Knowing principle that knows that I told something. Knowing principle knows that I didn't say something. The knowing principle is not a thought. That knowing principle you are, and all the time you are observing thoughts only. Because you know I am thinking. You know I am not thinking. Then I know does not change. Is it clear? Okay. So Prasanna is asking a question. Say, I get angry. Okay, and I am emotionally disturbed. So how can I be conscious, or how can be a witness of that? So Prasanna, Ramana Maharshi says, gives an answer very clearly. He does not say observe your thoughts or observe your emotions. He asks a question: who are you? Find out who are you. So who are you? The anger came and anger went. The feelings came, feelings went. Thoughts came, thoughts went. So how do you say, I know I was angry, I know I'm peaceful? Has I know changed? So Ramana Maharshi is saying, not observe the thought, go back to your true state, the knowing principle. How do you? So Ramana Maharshi is saying, not observe the thought, go back to your true state, the knowing principle. How do you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Only thing is that the thoughts and observation, that part.
No, see,
Some more light.
see,
Only thing is that the thoughts. Prabhuji, your Zoom thing is phone is unmuting,
Yeah.
so that's why we are getting an echo.
So Prasanna, many of the spiritual teachings are saying observe the thought, observe the feeling.
Your phone, when the phone is unmuting, yeah, that's why we are getting an echo. So Prasanna, many of the spiritual teachings.
Guruji, you have to connect your Bluetooth. Guruji, you have to connect your Bluetooth.
Yeah, Bluetooth is gone, Gayatri. It's gone. The charge is gone. So,
Yeah, Bluetooth is gone, Gayatri. It's gone.
Vasu, I'm going to log out from Google Meet and I'll go to Zoom and answer the question from Zoom. I'm going to log out from Google Meet and
People might not be able to, people on Google Meet might not be able to
For the people on Zoom, I'm repeating the answer. So Prasanna was asking me.
For the people on Zoom, I'm repeating the answer. So Prasanna was asking me.
I'll come back to Zoom and tell again. Okay. So coming back to people on Zoom. Yeah.
Let's offer our pranams to Prabhuji and we will.
So coming back to question people on Zoom, the question asked by Prasanna on Zoom, on Google Meet is thoughts appear and disappear. How to observe these thoughts which are appearing, disappearing? So Ramana Maharshi says, who are you? Take your attention to the witness. Take your attention to the Sakshi. Understand I am the Sakshi rather than constantly. Can you hear me on Zoom?
Yes, Guruji. Yes.
Yeah. So you can hear me on Zoom. So Ramana Maharshi instead of ask the question, who are you? So instead of chasing and observing the thoughts, become aware that I am the witness. Become aware that your attention has to go to your own true self. I am the witness, rather than constantly observing thoughts and feelings. Is the answer clear? So the next question is, what is the difference between the knowing principle and observing principle of Sakshi? So here there is a very subtle difference. The knowing principle or the witness is unchanging reality. The reflection of Sakshi, Chidabhasa, is the reflection of Sakshi in the mind. Chidabhasa is called observer. The Chidabhasa identifies the object. The observer identifies the object. Whereas when observer realizes I am the Sakshi, the witness, it becomes free from the identification. The observer refers to the reflected consciousness which is identifying the object. The witness is the knowing principle, is the original. The observer is the reflected. Is the answer clear? Yes, Gayatri, is the answer clear or not clear? Okay, anybody else on Zoom? Any other questions on Zoom? There's one question on YouTube. Okay. The question on YouTube is, if all are one, then why don't I feel physical, mental pain inflicted on another person? So Prasanna is asking a question. If all are one, then why don't I feel the physical, mental pain inflicted on another person? So consciousness is not one. The Prasanna is asking, if all are one, I and you are one. If there's a pain in you, I should experience it. So Ramachandra, Prasanna, the pain is experienced by reflected consciousness. The original consciousness is same for all. The sun is one and reflections are many. The original sun is reflected in your body, is called Chidabhasa. The experience is happening with respect to Chidabhasa. For the original consciousness, one reality, it is always blissful, it is Sachidananda. So the pain you are feeling in your body, you are not feeling the pain in other body, because the pain is felt by the reflected consciousness in the body. Any questions? Anybody has a question on Zoom? So Prasanna, answer is clear or not clear? Okay, so Prasanna says, I got it. Okay, so let me complete this today's session. If there are no more questions on Zoom, Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So my pranams to all Atma Jyotis. We are closing today's session. Hari Om.
Guruji.
Hari Om.
Yes.
So Guruji, you always tell that there should be a shift in identity where I am not the body, mind, intellect. I am the pure awareness, right?
Right.
But then that guy asked a question and you said it's because of the reflected consciousness. You cannot feel the pain or anything in the other objects. You just can't feel the other objects. You can feel only one object.
Correct.
That's because of this concept of reflected consciousness.
Yes.
So then, so that is the reason why I cannot feel at any point of time. I can never be pure consciousness, pure awareness,
No,
right?
no. That's where your question is: if you are pure awareness, will you feel the pain in everybody? No. Pure awareness has no duality. So the moment the reflected consciousness is like a wave, right? When wave goes back to water, what does water feel?
No. My question is not about feeling others. So how can, if the whole thing is about the reflected consciousness, how can a reflected consciousness ever shift identity to pure consciousness?
So here you have to again remember, okay, when I gave the answer reflected consciousness, the answer was limited to his perspective. When we speak of reflected consciousness Chidabhasa, it's called Jiva, right? And Jiva is not an individual entity, Jivatma. The Atma and Jiva together is one entity. It's like wave and water is one entity. The wave and water is feeling I am wave. Now wave starts understanding I am water. That is the shift in the perspective.
But wave has been confined to the wave because,
Yeah, wave. So the wave is confined to the wave. The difference you have to understand. So a sun is there, it reflects in the water, correct?
Yeah.
And water changes, reflection also changes. Correct?
Yeah.
If water does not change, what happens to the reflection?
Reflection is still.
Reflection is like original.
Huh.
When let's say sun is reflecting the water is shaking and reflection is trembling. I'm shaking. So the reflection, now water has become steady. Water is not moving. Then what does reflection say? I am steady. I am like sun. I am the original reflection of the original. Can you say now?
Yeah.
So the teaching of Vedanta, after you understand, Summaniru means mental activity has to come down. When the mental activity comes down, the mind is silent, like deep sleep, but you are fully aware. In that awareness, you know, I am pure awareness.
This is again being told by the reflected consciousness only, right?
No. See, reflected consciousness has no independent existence at all, right? See, you are
No,
using
whatever it appears to, go through all this.
no. Here, when I use the word reflected consciousness, okay, it's not a duality of original and reflected consciousness. Original appears as reflected consciousness, like water appears as wave.
Yeah.
It's a single entity. That's why I call as Jivatma. This word reflect consciousness also confusion. Jivatma feels I am the body. Jivatma feels I am pure consciousness. Is there a difference? So Jivatma is identified the mind which is changing. When the mind becomes silent, Jivatma says, I am pure, I am silent, I am Paramatma. Is the distinction clear?
Yeah.
So if you treat Jiva, that reflected consciousness separate from the original, like my face in the mirror, there's a duality. We are not speaking of duality. The word reflection is used only for in the context of the manifest reality. In reality, there's no duality in nature, in existence. It's one reality appearing as a reflect consciousness in the body. That's why we always use the word Jivatma, not Jiva. That's why Shankaracharya says, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Jiva is Brahman. In that Jiva word, Jivatma is there, Atma is there. Jivatma realizes I am Paramatma. Instead of I am the body, mind, intellect.
So this Jivatma includes the original consciousness, reflected consciousness, and the whatever is the instrument.
That's why always I use the word Jivatma, not just ego. Right?
Yeah.
Are we clear?
Yeah. And in this difference between the knowing principle and the observing principle of Sakshi. So I didn't understand the difference.
See, this when we use the language, we have to bring the duality. Otherwise, we will not understand. Okay? The original principle is called Sakshi. The witness knowing principle. Okay? It's always knows, but there is nothing to know in reality. Right? And that gets reflected as Chidabhasa in the mind. Chidabhasa is supposed to be the observer. But instead of observing, it gets identified with the body. The observer is identified with the body, but witness does not identify. So the observer and witness together is called Jivatma. So the Jivatma understands I am not the body, mind, intellect. I am pure awareness and becomes free. Is the distinction between observer and witness in principle clear?
Yeah, I think the observing principle becomes the knowing principle. That is the highest point.
Observing principle is nothing but knowing principle only. But because of reflection, it's identifying the body-mind complex.
So observing principle applies to Chidabhasa, knowing principle applies to the final
Sakshi.
original consciousness.
Original consciousness. Okay. But the observer, because this reflection is identifying the body-mind complex. With the discrimination, Viveka, proper Viveka, it understands, oh, these are all reflection, these are the changing, I'm not changing. That's why I am the witnessing principle, I am the knowing principle. So
but this observing principle is a role played by the intellect only, finally.
No. Observing principle, see, intellect is an instrument, okay? The intellect becomes activated by the reflection consciousness. Together, it becomes one entity.
Yeah. When I say intellect, I mean, it's the package, Chidabhasa plus intellect.
The knowing principle gets reflected as observing principle or Chidabhasa in the intellect. And it becomes one package. It appears to be, there's no separation, right? So now, as you do Viveka and Vairagya, the mind becomes silent. The intellect is not noisy now. There are no thoughts.
Yeah, so the final shift is the Chidabhasa plus intellect, which is working as an observer. It will become a knowing principle, finally.
Yeah, the knowledge happens, that knowledge happens in the intellect, that I am Brahman. Okay? So once the knowledge happens that I am Brahman, the ego influence on the intellect drops. So now, after you come back also, ego will not be able to influence the intellect. So the intellect directly works under the influence of Sakshi or Atma.
So in the observing principle, there is an observer, but in the knowing principle, there is no knower.
In the knowing, means, see here, the knowing principle is Sakshi, right?
No. Knowing principle is not Sakshi. Observing principle is Sakshi.
No, yeah. Observing principle. Knowing principle is called Atma or Sakshi. and observing principle Chidabhasa, right? So Chidabhasa is also called Jiva, and Jiva plus Atma is called Jivatma.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what happens? The wisdom has to be obtained in the mind only. Mana eva karanam manushanam bandhamokshayo. There's nowhere else. Correct?
Yeah.
Mind means intellect. In the intellect, there's a discrimination happened. Okay, everything is neti, neti, neti. Then finally, mind becomes silent. Then there's a realization, I am Brahman. Where it happens? Intuitively in the intellect.
Yeah.
So then what will happen? When the clear understanding happens, all your false understandings no longer stand. They get burnt.
Yeah.
So then, when you operate in the world, the intellect, the Chidabhasa is still there. Atma is still there. But it's working with the intellect which has become free from the ego. And that intellect which has become free from the ego works from a sattva, mind with a sattva. Mind with sattva is called Ishvara, not Jiva. Are we clear? So I'll tell you another way. The intellect of human being is predominantly sattva. Sattva guna is the nature of the intellect. Okay. In human being, sattva guna is malina sattva. That means impure. Rajoguna and tamas is there. With viveka and vairagya, rajoguna and tamas is gone. It becomes shuddha sattva. Sattva. The sattva, as the mind becomes silent, the realization happens. The jivatma realizes I am paramatma. The observer realizes I am the witnessing principle, which is nothing but Brahman. So in that realization, the deep-rooted impressions which are influenced by ego, which is influenced the intellect, it is no longer able to influence. So then Gnani is called Samadhi Sthiti Gnani. Gnani in Samadhi Sthiti. Then Gnani comes back and operates in the world. It's called Vyutana. He operates in the world. Now operates in the world, what happens now? Ego does not come and interfere. So now Sattva has become Shuddha Sattva. Instead from Malina Sattva, right? He operates with Sattva Guna. In the Sattva Guna, the consciousness is reflected, and the reflected consciousness Sattva Guna is called Ishvara. So he is no longer an individual operating in the world. It's Ishvara operating through the body-mind complex. Are we clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
So intellect is nothing but Sattva Guna. Finally Sattva becomes Sat, means existence.
Hari Om Prabhuji.
Hari Om Vasu.
Prabhuji, in other words, when the Jnani comes back and operates in the world, the reflection is undistorted. Whereas in normal people, it's a distorted reflection.
A reflection has no impurity. It's actually impurity is the ego. In Gnani, in Samadhi, he has realized I am Brahman. Okay. So Gnani, when he operates in the world, Vyutana. Vyutana means a Gnani operating function in the world. Vyutana. When Gnani operates in the world, mind is required. Now, what kind of mind is that? Mind which has become free from the impurities of Rajoguna and Tamoguna, by and large. So that Rajoguna and Tamoguna, that's mainly Sattva Guna, predominantly Sattva Guna. When predominantly Sattva Guna is there, reflection in the predominantly Sattva Guna is called Ishvara. Reflection in the Malina Sattva is called Jiva. Impure Sattva is called Jiva. So Gnani, there's no individual, it's the cosmos or Ishvara operating through the body-mind complex. Because of that.
The reflecting surface has become pure.
Reflecting surface has become free from disturbance. Impurity. Maybe a little bit there, will be here and there will be there, but by and large is free from disturbance.
Okay. Very clear, Prabhuji.
So, Vasu, did I answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Now, I was asking the reflection from the point of view of experience, because if the reflection reflects in full glow, then it is Swayam Prakasha, they say, Prabhuji. But in a Jiva, it is not clear.
No. Reflection when it's full blown, it's not called Swayam Prakasha. Reflection in its original form is called Swayam Prakasha. Original form cannot be seen.
Okay.
The original form Atma Jyoti is Swayam Prakasha.
So
when it's reflected, it becomes reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa. Okay, but reflection is much more clearer now.
Okay, from the point of view of experience of a seeker, when the reflection is pure, then it's bliss, only bliss. Is that?
And the reflection is
Because
proof. As
only
the reflection becomes purer and purer, it becomes more and more blissful.
I can only experience reflection. I can't experience the original.
Atma
So-
cannot experience any time itself. No, it can only experience the reflection.
So from that context, when there is no distortion, then it is pure bliss or infinity, nothing.
No, I
No
won't say
duality.
still, because I'm using the word reflection.
Hmm.
Still, it's not infinity. It's closer to nature, closer to your
Closer.
reality.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Even if your word little bit imperfection is there, then still it means it's not same as original.
Okay.
Right? Technically.
Yes. Yes.
So the reflected bliss which Gnani experiences is called Samadhi Sukha. Samadhi Sukha is not same as Atmananda. Still it's a reflection.
Hmm.
No doubt it's good. No doubt it's beautiful. But still it's a reflection.
Atmananda is complete non-duality.
Atmananda is Brahmananda, non-duality.
So that cannot come to the Jnani, Prabhuji.
No. Gnani is that only.
Ah.
Gnani is that
can't be
only. But if
experienced is
Gnani
what you-
enjoys Samadhi Ananda, it's called reflected bliss. It's called Samadhi Sukha. But Gnani has realized Swarupa Ananda. I am Brahman. Which is not experienced.
So Swarupa Ananda is a recognition, whereas Samadhi Ananda is an experience. Is that
Correct. Swarupa Ananda is recognition after it intuitive apperception or aparoksha jnana.
Okay.
Whereas Samadhi Sukha is an experience. When he sits silently, when he interacts, he experiences Samadhi Sukha.
Okay.
Are you clear?
Just one question, Prabhuji, that intuitive perception does that also happen in the intellect, or no intellect is used?
Anything when you say intuition or intellect,
Hmm.
both refer to the mind.
Okay.
The self has no organ. Self cannot experience anything without an instrument.
Okay. Hmm.
The intuition and intellectual knowledge happens in the same instrument.
Guruji, but apperception means non-involvement of sense organs, right?
See, we have to understand aparoksha jnana is called intuitive perception. Okay? Intuitive perception. The perception word means the self cannot be perceived by sense organs or the mind. Correct? It's negation.
Yeah.
Intuitive means a understanding intuitively. For example, when you are speaking now, you say, I am speaking. Okay? The I am is intuitive. Speaking is with respect to body. So both are getting mixed up. Intellectual knowledge and intuitive knowledge are getting mixed up, and when you say I am speaking. Intuitive knowledge already is there. I am. Who told you you exist? I exist. I am aware. Who told you? That's the intuitive knowledge.
No external thing is telling me, but I know because my internal sense organs like mind and intellect can tell
Finally,
that I exist.
intuition is also in the mind only. The self has no duality. No, there's no instrument. It cannot know anything.
No, we are talking about the apperception.
No. A perception is gone. No, a perception is only referring to perception through sense organs or the mind. Okay. But intuition is not coming from sense organ. Intuition is I exist, I am aware, coming from deeper within you. It's not coming from sense organs.
Okay.
Right? So, do you require sense organs to understand you exist? Or somebody has to tell you? It's intuitively known to you, correct?
Yeah.
That knowledge didn't come from your sense organs or from the mind. Intuitively it came to you.
Hmm.
So that intuitive I am is the intuitive knowledge. But what is missing in that I am is Ananda Swarupa is missing. The realization is I am of the nature of Ananda, infinite. That part is, the third part is Ananda Swarupa is missing. Because intellectual knowledge, I am the body, mind, and intellect is getting superimposed on the intuition.
Yeah.
Got it?
Hmm.
And both intuition and intellect, they're on the mind only. Knowledge that I exist also comes from in the mind only, but it comes from within. The real I's presence is felt as I exist.
Okay, the input to the mind is coming from within, is you are saying, whereas for the other things, input comes from external.
It's external.
So,
intuitive
Prabhuji, if
input.
I understand that correctly, even intuition is at the level of manifestation.
Correct.
Only after it gets reflected.
Yes.
Okay. No.
So intuition, simple Vasu, they don't get big words. Do you know you exist? Yes. Do you know you are aware? Yes. That's intuition. It's not because somebody told you, because body, you know it. Intuitively, the real you reflected, it says I exist. Okay. So it's intuitive knowledge. It's not coming from sense organs. Now, the problem in our life is we are mixing with the body knowledge. I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. So if I ask you, why do you say you exist? You say, I because of the body. You are mixing it with the body, not intellectual knowledge.
That is the ignorance.
That is the confusion, ignorance.
Okay.
So intuitive knowledge, I am is also very clear to you. But what is not clear to you is I am infinite is not clear to you. Ananda Swarupa is not clear to you.
I exist is intuitive, but I exist because of the body is the confusion.
Because of the body is confusion. Okay. Because of that confusion, you will miss the point of infinity. Ananta.
Guruji, that infinity is missing because the reflected consciousness is trapped in this particular form.
See,
body.
Ultimately, reflected consciousness is animating this intellect, right? Reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa, is eliminating the intellect, which has intuition and intellectual knowledge. Correct, no?
Yeah.
So now the confusion is coming, but intellectual and intuitive knowledge is getting mixed up. Reflection is required, otherwise this will not become alive, no?
Yeah. Reflection is required, but the feeling of limitedness is coming because of this reflected consciousness only. This is the cause, because it is confined to.
Yeah, reflected
consciousness can never become unlimited.
No, reflected consciousness is eliminating the intellect, eliminating the body. Now the intellect does not know where the light is coming from. So it confuses the light in the body and mind as real I.
Okay.
That confusion is called ego. Are we clear?
No, I said Ananda is missing because of this reflected consciousness is the reason why Ananda is missing.
No. Confusion is the cause why Ananda is missing, not reflected consciousness itself. The confusion of superimposition of I am the body, I am the mind gives a wrong understanding. That is the cause of limitation.
Okay.
Okay. We'll close for the day. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Prabhuji. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Prabhuji.
Hari Om, Prabhuji.
Hari Om, Prabhuji.